You are not your genes. To understand that statement, we first have to explore epigenetics, or the new science of wellness. And then we can begin to talk about how to create change, how to create wellness where there might not already be. Before we talk about epigenetics, I want to explain to you the old model of science, or the belief that genetics were destiny. For a very long time, we did believe that whatever we were born with in terms of our DNA, in terms of our genetics, we had no control. Our genetics were the sole determinant of whether or not we would get health-related or physical concerns or ailments or diagnoses to mental or emotional ones. Epigenetics tells us a different story. Epigenetics, of course, honors the role that our genetics play because it does. We all are born with a certain DNA sequence that, however, interacts with our environments. It interacts with the choices that we're making. Now we know that our genes aren't solely in control, that we actually can create change through the choices that we make. I like to speak of my story because a lot of us see very similar habits, patterns, maybe even diagnoses in our families, in those with the genetics, of course, closest to us. It's very confusing then. It does feel like this came because genetically we are all similar. In my family, that was around anxiety. My mom, my sister, everyone in my family unit struggled with anxiety. So of course, I believed it must have been genetics. Of course, we must genetically be similar, so that is why we have anxiety. Similarly with other medical concerns I won't go into. The reason is we have to understand we share environments, we share conditioning, and we share habits as well with these people. So yes, we are genetically similar, and chances are we're raised in a similar environment, making choices that are controlling how our genetics are expressing. As we begin to understand that we have choice, we can begin to make new choices. We can now make choices that will influence our wellness. We can make choices around how we eat, how much we sleep, how we move our bodies, how we breathe. Stress affects our genetics. Stress affects what we will express in the world, whether or not we will show physical or emotional symptoms, as well as how well we can tolerate stress. Stress is an environmental factor that affects our genetic expression. So is our minds. So is what we think, the beliefs we hold. All of this creates the environment. All of these are the choices that we're talking about changing. So how can we begin to create wellness? We can make a commitment to make one new small daily promise to change our habits in one of those areas. Maybe for some of you, it's nutrition. Maybe for others, it's getting a little more sleep. Making a daily commitment to make and keep one small daily promise in those areas can become the choice that changes your wellness. For me, in my journey, I created the Future Self Journal as a daily reminder of how to integrate those new changes and choices. I provided a template for you. If you want to sign up on my website for my email list, you can receive the Future Self Journal in your email box and use that as your daily tool to remind yourself of these promises and help you to create change in your own wellness. For me, changing my relationship with my body, learning how to change the way I ate, the way I slept, the way I moved, the way I tolerated stress, the way I breathed. For me, that changed my relationship with anxiety. It went away. Of course, it didn't happen overnight. It began for me with those small daily promises in my Future Self Journal. Those of you who are on your own journey to create wellness, I'd love to hear how it's going.